So now you have a better understanding of light, how to find it, how to use it and expose for it. Now we're going to talk a little bit about composition. This is a very broad subject. It can't be covered in any one single lesson. But we're going to talk a little bit about composition, about perspective, and using the zoom feature on your smartphone camera. The art of photographic composition is rooted in the same compositional principles that painters have been using for centuries. This is an endless study that we can't cover fully in this lesson. But we can give you some basic compositional concepts and some control elements that, once you understand, will ground you with strong guidelines for framing your shots to be visually compelling. So let's start with the fundamental understanding that when we photograph anything, we're taking three-dimensional reality and flattening it into 2 dimensions. That when this happens, the shapes on the plate, the arrangement, the light and dark areas, the form, all act on our visual consciousness to provoke some emotional response. Since we're applying this to food and food blogging, we want to stimulate the appetite of the viewer and catch and hold their interest. So we begin with making sure that the food and its plating arrangement are compelling. Food styling is a serious art and trade, but for your purposes, if you spend time reviewing food shots that you love, you can find it within yourself what it is about the plating that makes the shots work, and you can apply that to these shots. There's always a hero in the plate, a focus, and usually there's a visual and delectable support that keeps the styled plate attractive. So look at the plate as you build it. Arrange the elements of the dish so the form helps move the eye in a pleasing direction. Try to have an entry point, then shapes that direct the viewer toward the focus, then bring the viewer back to start again. The next element in successful composition is understanding perspective. Perspective is the single point from where you take the picture. Perspective is a very tricky element. Everything changes when you change the distance and position of your camera's view of your subject. If you're too close with a somewhat wide-angle lens, a subject like food distorts. The background may become too distracting, and it's hard to use the form of the overall plate to direct the viewer's eye. By backing up and zooming in, you can alter the visual effect of the composition aesthetically, giving more control over the compositional dance that directs the viewer's eye and holds the attention. This is a very important concept to know and use. I encourage you to play with this every time you shoot and find the balance for each shot. This is where the zoom can greatly help improve the composition of the final shot. Finally, there is the 2-dimensional layout of the subject within the boundaries of the frame, the composition itself. The most fundamental guideline for this is the rule of thirds. It's a must to know and understand, but a guideline to use as it applies. Here's a brief explanation on the rule of thirds. If you divide the frame into vertical and horizontal thirds, you end up with 4 intersecting points. The idea is to have the focus of your frame's content fall on or near one of the points of intersection, or along the area where these lines fall. If you play with this when composing, you'll start to visually feel it when framing your shot. Even if you are cropped tight on the plate, this rule can be used to guide your compositional decisions. Always remember that it's a guide, and never forget that it's your art that you're creating, so use it as a guide. Composition is a vast and endless study. It's a subjective experience, and it's yours to create. Only time invested separates the master from the novice, so approach it with the same wonder and enthusiasm you use when creating your recipes and preparing your food.